In this lesson, you'll learn how to play the first part of the song Island in the Sun by Weezer. This song is in standard tuning and 4/4 time. When playing this song, just count 1, 2, 3, 4 to stay in time. The original recording of Island in the Sun is played at a speed of 115 beats per minute. I'm giving you 3 full band backing tracks that you can practice with. One backing track at full speed, 115 beats per minute. Another backing track at 3/4 speed, 86 beats per minute. And one more backing track at half speed, 58 beats per minute. To learn the song, first start with the strumming pattern. This is a long strumming pattern, so we will split it in 2 halves to make it easier to learn and remember. Follow along with me, muting your guitar by laying your fretting hand fingers across the strings. The first half of the strumming pattern goes down, down, up, down, up, up. Here's how this first part of the strumming pattern should look and sound. The second half of the strumming pattern goes down, up, down, up. Here's the second half of the strumming pattern. When you play the first half and second half of the strumming pattern together, you will strum down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It will look and sound like this. Practice this strumming pattern with the backing tracks at half speed and then work your way up to full speed. Now that you know the strumming pattern, it's time to plan your path. The 4 chords in this song are E minor, A minor, D major, and G major. There are 2 different ways that I've shown you to play the E minor chord, using your first and second fingers or your second and third fingers. In this song, you will use your first and second fingers to play the E minor chord. By playing the E minor chord this way, your second finger on the second fret of the D string does not have to move when changing from the E minor chord to the A minor chord. And when changing from the G major chord to the E minor chord, your first finger on the second fret of the A string does not have to move. Now that you understand why you're using this version of the E minor chord, let's look at your first chord change. The first chord change in the song is from E minor to A minor. When you make this chord change, your second finger should stay planted on the second fret of the D string. You'll see when I change from the E minor chord to the A minor chord, my second finger slides over like this to make room for my third finger on the G string. The next chord change is from A minor to D major. With this chord change, there are no fingers that you can keep planted, but luckily your fingers stay in a similar shape with your second finger above your third and your third finger above your first. Here's an example of the chord change from A minor to D major. The next chord change is from D major to G major. Make sure to keep your third finger planted on the third fret of the B string when changing from the D major chord to the G major chord. Here's an example of this chord change. The final chord change happens when you start the chord progression over again, changing from the G major chord to the E minor chord. With this chord change, your first finger should stay planted on the second fret of the A string. When changing from the G major chord to the E minor chord, you'll see my first finger slides over like this to make room for my second finger on the D string. So you know the strumming pattern and you've planned your path. Now it's time to add the chords to the strumming pattern. The first chord you'll play is E minor. Place your first finger on the second fret of the A string and your second finger on the second fret of the D string. Here's how your E minor chord should look and sound. While holding this E minor chord, strum down, down, up, like this. Next, you will change to the A minor chord. Your second finger will stay planted on the second fret of the D string. Your third finger will go on the second fret of the G string, and your first finger will go on the first fret of the B string. Your A minor chord should look and sound like this. While holding this A minor chord, you'll strum down, down, like this. Here's what we have so far from the start. The next chord you'll play is D major. Put your second finger on the second fret of the G string, your third finger on the third fret of the B string, and your first finger on the second fret of the small E string. Your D major chord should look and sound like this. While holding the D major chord, you'll strum up, up, down. Here's an example. Now here's what we have from the start. The final chord is G major. When you change from the D major chord to the G major chord, your third finger does not have to move. Your second finger will go on the third fret of the big E string, your first finger on the second fret of the A string, your third finger stays on the third fret of the B string, and your fourth finger goes on the third fret of the small E string. Your G major chord should look and sound like this. While holding the G major chord, you'll strum up, down, up, like this. Now you know the whole riff. Here's the full chord progression at a slow speed. And here's the whole chord progression at a faster speed. If you want to challenge yourself and make this strumming pattern sound 100% like the song, you can change 3 of the down strums into dead strums. To do these dead strums, you'll play only the big E string, the A string, and the D string. But when you strum, you'll use the side edge of the palm of your picking hand to mute these top 3 strings. Here's what the dead strum will look and sound like. You'll see that the side edge of the palm of my picking hand comes down and mutes the strings at the same time that I strum. These dead strums make the strumming pattern a little harder to play, but they also make it a lot more fun. The original strumming pattern that I showed you looks like this. If you change these 3 down strums into dead strums, the strumming pattern will look like this. There's a dead strum on the 2nd, 5th, and 8th strums. Here's how the chord progression sounds with the 3 dead strums. Give this song a try first by mastering the strumming pattern and then adding the chords. As always, start learning this at a slow speed and then work your way up to playing with the full speed, full band backing tracks. I hope you enjoy this one.